My name is G Rhydr. I am just over 6 weeks and just under 200 miles into a journey across the United States with a small covered wagon. I'm sitting in the back of it right now. A pair of little ponies named Franklin and Theodore. Franklin is 38 inches and Theodore is 40 inches, and a Corgi named Thick. And we are traveling across the country, doing interviews with people for a YouTube channel called Who Is My Neighbor? At the Neighbor Archives, asking 25 questions of all sorts of people, trying to find some common ground and do our part to try and start knitting together this division that's rifting our country right now. I am on social media as Free Range Rodeo. My blog is Free Range Rodeo. So that's the basics.
Wow.
And we left from Millersburg, Ohio, a Walmart parking lot of all places, to get onto the Holmes County Trail. And literally within the first mile and a half, the trail was blocked. You couldn't go through. I had to do this giant detour up and down big gravel hills with the ponies. We were in no way prepared. And by the time we finished a 14-mile day, I had realized that I needed to get a new front axle on my wagon because I didn't have the turning radius I needed to do this successfully.
Oh, no. So introduce the mustard seed, as you call it, your wagon. So I'm just going to describe really quickly to viewers that might not be able to see this. Like, you're sitting, from what I see, in this beautiful colored wagon, and it's like this lovely, like the wagon hoops are over your head. It's kind of this yellowish gold.
It's a bright yellow. I stole that from you, Bernie, because it was the way to be the most visible possible on the road.
Yep.
I'm sitting in the back, and I have a bed in the back. And then during the day, I pile my gear in the back. And at night, when I need to sleep, I put it in the front where I would be driving. I've got storage under the seat and in what I call my hip pocket boxes on the outside between the wheels. The wagon is 6'3" tall. And when we take off the team pole, like if we're going to transport it, it is 11 feet long. And because the ponies and I are all a little green, and because the turning radius continues to be challenging, I feel like I'm driving a school bus that doesn't have reverse. So it's really easy. It is really easy to get ourselves stuck in a situation I can't get out of. So I try not to leave in the morning until I know where we're headed that night. And for a little over 6 weeks, I've managed that. But I have tomorrow night sorted, and then after that, I have, no idea for the next 5 nights.
Wow. So let's go back. We're going to get to the turning radius and the thing to really explain to people what this is like. But let's get back to that first day. So you've got Franklin and Theodore.
Right.
You're the Shetland ponies. You are in
Theodore's
the Walmart.
A Shetland. Yeah, we're in so Theodore's a Shetland pony, and Franklin is a miniature horse. And Franklin is a buckskin, and Theodore is what they call a silver dapple. So he's a gray with a white blonde mane and tail. So we've got a white mane and a black mane flying in the wind.
So before you get to the flying in the wind, though, you're standing in the Walmart parking lot.
We're standing in the Walmart parking lot.
You got to hitch him. You got to hitch him to the wagon. We pulled him out of the
trailer. I've got an Amish man there to help me, and his son, and Kristen from Twilight Farms, who sold me the ponies, and we get them hooked up. And already just getting onto the trail from the Walmart parking lot, we've got this turning radius problem.
So explain that.
And the wheels are so close to the wagon at that point that literally a 20-degree turn is too much.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So what happens when you turn? What does it sound like when that wheel hits the side of the wagon?
Well,
what does it do?
It's a little roller, and it makes this whirring, grinding sound that the ponies don't like at all, which makes them want to go faster, which makes the whole situation worse. And to just jump ahead for a minute, I have jackknifed this thing twice now.
Oh, wow. That's dangerous because you can flip it. You can flip a wagon.
Yeah, I jump out real fast on the uphill side and grab the pony.
It's smart if you can hold up.
Terrifying. Wow. It is terrifying. So I'll get to those stories in a bit.
Sure.
But so we get going. There's a reporter there, and he goes, "Oh, this looks like something out of an NPR documentary." And I'm thinking, yeah, I wish. But it's just me going down the road.
Yeah.
And we get to the first stop, and I realize I need to get a new axle. And that first day was okay, but I mean,
No, that's soon.
it was really soon. And so I went around to a couple of Amish shops, and they were basically like, "Oh, who made this for you? It's his problem. Make him fix it." They wouldn't touch
Well,
it.
that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all.
So I had to send an email to Mel in Pequay Carriage Company, and he expressed me out at an axle which was 5 feet long. So it was now 6 inches wider on each side. And Laura McCartney, who had welcomed me in and then wound up letting me stay for 8 days. Her husband was a machinist, and their best friends down the road, he was a carpenter, a woodworker. So when the axle got there, I had someone right there to put the axle on and to shorten my hip pocket boxes and move the rollers back so that the wheel would hit the rollers, not the box. And I had that extra foot of turning radius.
That's huge.
Which is still not a whole lot, really, in real life.
So if you're going to make a circle, how big would the circle be without the wheel hitting the roller?
School bus.
Literally the size of a school bus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like my
That's
Toyota Sienna
navigate.
van has a better turning radius than this wagon. I cannot do a 90-degree turn in this wagon.
Wow. I mean, that makes it really tough to navigate.
It does.
Especially in the East and the Midwest when you're around traffic and roads.
Well, I mean, okay, so we are entering now the Great Plains, which is known for being flat and straight. And I chose this area to start out because flat is easier for the ponies, and this big open expanse makes it easier for people to see me.
Right.
And so I'm in the land of not having to do super tight turns unless I go up somebody's driveway.
Right.
That's why I'm trying. And the wagon is, in part of the reason we have that turning radius is the combined weight of the ponies is 800 pounds. So the combined weight of the wagon and me and Thick and all my gear and whatever water and food we're carrying has to be under 800 pounds or we don't go up hills. That's just physics.
That's right. Right.
So to add suspension and height was going to add weight. It was going to make it harder for Thick and I to get in and out of the wagon. And so being very naive to all this, I chose to keep the wagon low. I am questioning the wisdom of my decision now. But here we are. I've got what I've got. And I mean, I take responsibility and I'm on the road. Like I designed this wagon from scratch with Mel. So like no blame on anybody but me. This is what I thought I wanted and this is what I got.
So what was the biggest thing that you prepared for that didn't happen? Something you're worried about is like, well, that didn't happen.
Very little.
Everything happened. All your fears came true.
Yeah. No, honestly.
That's a great answer.
The last 2 weeks have been insane.
Like what? What happened?
Well, like yesterday, a big dog bit Thick and put a hole in his ear.
Oh, no.
So now I'm spraying Vetricin on that, and he's sleeping under the wagon right now, and he wouldn't eat for 24 hours. And, that was hard. I couldn't protect my dog.
Wow. So does Thick run or does Thick ride inside the wagon?
He rides in the wagon with me. So he's on the front seat next to me, and he's being really good about staying in the wagon with me. But there are times when he's gotten excited enough. So I've got a little solar refrigerator in front of the dashboard, and that's part of how I'm keeping myself fed. And one day he jumped out onto the solar cooler to try and tell the ponies to go faster. And I've got a harness on him, and I grabbed him and I yanked him back. But, it takes 2 hands to drive the ponies. They are still green in that way. And so to have, or when the phone rings, I can't answer it. But if it's somebody who's trying to help me and I actually need to connect with them and they refuse to text, that's the option I have. And here, so it's a little intense that way.
So what else? Yeah. So what else? Like, so it's that issue with Thick getting bit in the ear, which is
cool. So let's go back. I don't want to give you a blow by blow of them. You know, like the first couple weeks, the first month, we were staying with people. We were going, we were stopping. We were doing we were having people be super lovely. Anytime as it's raining and windy, we would get in because it turns out this is a whole lot of canvas to have up in even a 35-mile-an-hour wind. And we have been having a really blowy, wet spring here in Ohio. And so when it goes 35-mile-an-hour wind with this big amount of canvas and the tiny ponies, that's not safe on the road.
So what happens? Does it blow the wagon back and forth?
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes it hard for them to pull. It makes us, you know, and I have driven large rigs in high winds, and I know how quick you can be in another lane. So I just am trying to be as careful as possible with that. And the wind has literally blown the wagon, started to blow it across somebody's yard.
Wow.
So when it is windy, we do our very best to get in under shelter. Last night it was bucketing rain and I stayed totally dry. So it's not about it being waterproof. It's totally waterproof. But the wind is an issue that I hadn't really anticipated. Yeah. Yeah, it is wild. And it's like driving a sailboat. And I just hadn't really thought about it.
That's a great comparison.
I think
up a road.
Yeah,
no, there are prairie schooners.
There are, and people do this in the desert. So, I mean, there's precedent, but I feel like in answer to your question about what did I prepare for that didn't happen, there was more things that just didn't occur to me that have happened.
Like what else?
So then we were having, you know, good days, bad days. There was one day we did 12 miles in 2 hours. Like the ponies were just flying. Wow. They were so happy. So that was a super good day. We have had one night. Okay, you're going to like this story. We had a choice of putting him out on the tether or in a 10 by 10 stall together. Those were the only two options. It was a super windy day. The wagon was in the barn. They were out on the tether and they were really spooky. And Theodore was running around and around and around and around and around a post until he jammed his face up against it and he couldn't move anymore. And Theodore was out at the end of his tether trying to rip his leg off. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. I bring him into a 10 by 10 stall. And within 2 hours, Theodore is trying to kick the tar out of Franklin. And the way into the stall is this huge wooden panel. It's heavy. It's hard to move. And so I go over with a treat and a lead rope, and I bring the treat up, and Theodore grabs the treat, and I grab his halter and tie him into the corner of the stall. And the stall is small enough, even for a small pony, he could kick everywhere into that. You know, he could kick Franklin anywhere in there he wanted to, but he just stopped.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. And after 2 hours, everything's calm. I untie him. 4 hours, everything's calm. All of a sudden, he's kicking the tar out of Franklin again. What? And so I give him another treat to get him into the corner, tie him up. 2 hours, 4 hours, kicking him again. The fourth time it happens, I am out of a dead sleep. I go running. I don't have the treat. He meets me in the corner. I clip him up, and there he is, all licking his lips and looking at me like soft-eyed, like, where's my treat? I have trained my pony to kick the tar out of his brother for a treat.
Jeez.
Right? I mean, ponies are just so smart. And yeah. So we left there and we wound up staying at a place called the Engedi Ridge Zoo. And when they invited us to stay, they were like, are your ponies going to be okay with emus and camels and kangaroos? And I'm like, we'll find out, but I have always wanted to see a kangaroo in person. So I'm on my way. We get there, the ponies are like, yeah, camels, emus, kangaroos, that's cool. They're in a pen right next to the kangaroos. They're making friends with them through the fence. You know, it's all completely, there's a couple of zebras. I get to pet camels. Like, it was really,
it's copacetic.
Really cool. Yep, it was awesome. It was like Peaceable Kingdom. Great stop. A bunch of developmentally disabled people show up in the next morning. Somebody brought me breakfast with hash browns and bacon and eggs. And that was really good.
Beautiful.
And I get going and there's two women following me in their cars with their flashers on. So now we're being and I have my flashers on. So now we're on a fairly busy road, 3 in a row, and the ponies aren't quite on that day. Like something wasn't right. So I pulled over into a parking lot and tried to adjust the harness, and we're not to the point where I can do that alone yet. So one of the women would hold them in the front, and I would adjust the harness, and I would get in, and then we would go down the road, and I would stop on the side of the road, and we would adjust the harness. And finally, I can't get it. And the vet who owned the zoo showed up and said, well, you should have that left rein going to your left pony, both lines, and your right rein only going to your right pony. The problem is they're crossed in the middle. Well, I know enough to know that's not the right answer. He's only ever driven a camel before. So my left rein goes to the left side of both ponies' mouths, and my right rein goes to the right side of ponies' mouths. That's how it was. So I knew I had it right. Yep. So I knew I had it right. But it's that thing where people can give you advice and be dead wrong. The useful thing, he said, was about 1.5 miles up on the road, on your left, you'll see a hoop barn, and that's a harness maker. So if you pull in there, the harness maker can probably help you figure this out. I'm like, excellent, perfect solution.
That's good.
That was a good thing. So somewhere in there, I suggest to the women that maybe 2 of them behind me isn't a good idea. And instead of telling them both to get in one car, which would have been the clever thing, I told the one woman, why don't you get out in front of me? So now the left-hand turn into that driveway is right over the crest of a hill. She's in front of me. She's turning really slowly. She's making sure I see the entrance. I can see the entrance. He's going in super slowly. There's the crest of the hill. To get in, I'm going to have to get the ponies moving a little quicker. So I wait till she's about a wagon's length out of the way. I give the ponies a little bit of juice, and they take a left. We're good. All of a sudden, I realize I have the right rein, and it's gotten caught in one of the rings on the back of Theodore's harness, and I only have one rein, and it is the left rein, and I can't stop. And there is a car in front of us, and there is a pony in the left hand. You see where this is going. There's a pony in the left-hand side, and they dive between 2 pine trees, and the team pole hits a fence post. Oh. Franklin's got his head and his left leg through a fence. The team pole is bent, buckled. The single tree in the back is shattered, and we are at full stop.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
And luckily, someone had turned off that electric fence 10 minutes before. So Theodore is through a dead electric fence, not a live one, which has saved part of the situation. So then the harness maker and his wife and their 4 homeschool kids show up, and the 2 women are there, and we get the ponies unhitched, and we get the wagon all disentangled. I did not break a single bow.
Wow.
Ponies are fine. Vic stayed on the wagon until I gave him permission to get off. The only real casualty was the team pole, and my sunglasses, my prescription sunglasses, went flying off my face, never to be seen again. Like they just were snatched by God.
So describe the pole to people. What's the pole?
So between the ponies, there's a metal pole that they're both hitched to, and in the front of it, there's like a T, and at the back of it is one swivel long piece of wood, and on top of that at the ends are 2 shorter pieces of wood that also swivel. So the tugs come back along the side of each pony on one, they each have their own side of this bar, and they come down to that shorter piece of wood, and that swivels so that they can stay even, and then the bigger piece balances that out. So if you're picturing like a mobile hanging from the ceiling, it's sort of a balancing thing so that no matter how the ponies are pulling, the wagon stays straight.
Yeah, and that's a good description.
And Franklin pulls a lot harder and a lot faster than Theodore most of the time, and so his side is usually forward when we're going down the road. And
so that evens it out.
So it evens it out. So yeah. And so that's the long one that went behind both of them, split in the middle, and there's splinters and shards all over the place.
And the pole between them is bent.
Is bent like the back of a whale or a dolphin.
Jeez, humpback. It's a humpback.
It's a humpback.
Whale.
So We get the ponies unhitched. We
see.
get the wagon disentangled. We get, make sure everybody's okay. And pretty much instantly, the harness maker is offering us a ride in his trailer to anywhere we want to go that is not his yard. We are not his problem. He is very clear that we are not his problem. And so I had a rest stop set up 2 stops ahead. And so we got in the trailer and he drove us 30 miles to that next place.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah. And he did make a few suggestions on the harness, but mostly it was just like get in the wagon and go. I mean, get in the horse trailer and go. And one of the advantages of this size wagon is it actually fits in a horse trailer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so we
can
pull
you
it
take
into
the
a horse trailer.
Hey, can you take the bows and the roof off?
No. So
and it still fits.
Yeah. So the whole wagon is 6'3". I'm going to aim this at the ceiling. See that pole down the middle?
Yeah,
That's
like a ridge
made
pole.
of metal. Yep. And it's screwed through that into the canvas. And then at a few places on the side, the canvas is screwed. So I cannot take the canvas off the bows without a screwdriver, and it would be really hard to put it back on in one piece. So we've got a fixed system here. But it's 6'3",
but it does fit into a
and it's 5'1".
Fantastic. That's fantastic because that's a real issue for wagons. And I've never owned a wagon that was narrow and low enough to fit into a horse trailer. So you're building a low wagon was definitely the way to go. Any higher, you couldn't do it.
I mean, there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons. So we got the wagon in, we got it ratcheted forward with some straps. We put the ponies in crosswise because they're very short. And so they were tied to one wall parallel to the back door. We got to where we were going. We unhooked everything. And Dan Shanahan, the harness man, disappeared. And so that place had a garage for the wagon, and it had an electric fence pasture for the ponies. And the woman who lived there in an old farmhouse had MS. So she had very low energy. And honestly, I'm going to say that was one of the best things to have someone who understood that when I said I need a rest doesn't mean give me 20 minutes, I'll be back. It means I can function for a couple hours and I need the rest of the day to rest. So she and I were on the same page. We got along really well. At a certain point, 2 retired women brought my van to catch up with me. So I have a 2000 Toyota Sienna that has an extra wagon hoop in it, some supplements and grain for the ponies, some off-season clothes and bedding, just, extra stuff that I don't have room for in the wagon. And that people bring along behind me. So we found an Amish man who was willing to fix the pole and re-weld it, and his son had the woodworking skills. So by the end of a week, we bolt it back onto the wagon, good to go, hook up the ponies, go down the driveway. Now this is a Sunday, which is good because it's a low traffic day, but the ponies are not okay. They're not pulling straight. They're not happy. They're not behaving. They've had a week off, so I'm expecting them to be a little spicy, but they're like not okay. And I'm stopping them and I'm getting out and I'm trying to adjust the harness and I'm getting back in and I'm getting out and I'm adjusting one thing and I'm getting back in and and I'm going down the road this way. And it's dangerous because it's really hard to keep them stopped when I'm not in the wagon holding the reins.
And you're alone at this point.
And I'm alone. And
wow,
one of the times I'm stopped, I'm standing by the ponies and 2 guys in a white pickup truck stop and say, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Not really. I'm having some harness issues." And I'm getting ready to ask if they would hold the ponies, and they rev the engine and then they laugh and said, "Oh, looks like that scared your ponies." And rev the engine again and take off. And the ponies spook and bolt down the road. And I get knocked down and I am getting dragged down the pavement hanging by one 1/2-inch wide biothane rein. And I managed to get them to stop. But now I have bruises and scrapes. And I have a phone number for a farrier who's 74 years old and he lives in his van half the year. And his name is Dickie Bill. And I'm heading for the fairgrounds and Dickie Bill is a contact. And so I call him on the phone and say, Are you willing to make a roadside call? Because something's going on. I need help figuring it out.
Yeah.
He shows up with his son and his grandson. They hop out. We realize that the team pole is not straight. It's curved to the right. So nothing I was doing with the harness was going to make any difference. It's the team pole that I just spent $100 to have replaced is crooked.
And
so
that would push. So is it pushing? So what does that do?
So the ponies were running into it. They were running into each other. The thing was not pulling straight. Everything was just wrong, and they could feel it, and they couldn't compensate for it. And the faster we went, the worse it got. So that runaway was really uncomfortable for them. And so I literally went 4 miles at a walk to Dickie Bill's son's house. And they had a splitter, which I don't even know what that is, and a blowtorch, I don't know, and a generator. There was a bunch of stuff and a 5-foot long level. And between the three of them, we unhitched the ponies and unbolted the team pole. And they took that and played with it for a while. It was out of true in 3 dimensions, in 3 planes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they spent over an hour, and now I have a straight team pole. And they're all horse people, and we're all putting the ponies back on the wagon, and we get them all harnessed up, and I go out of the driveway, and we're going down at a trot, and we're in a straight line, and I'm like, oh, problem solved. And the next thing I know, the trot has turned into a gallop, and I'm pulling back on the reins, and I'm saying, walk, boys, ho. And I realize that Theodore's bit is not in his mouth. And one of those guys put the bridle on my pony, and my fault. I wasn't paying enough attention. I was just trusting, because who would put a bridle on a pony without putting the bit in the mouth? So his bit is under his neck. And we're in
Jesus, see?
We're laughing now, Bernie. We're laughing now.
Oh, my God. You weren't laughing then. So they're galloping up the road.
They were galloping and also Theodore, who has no bit, outweighs Franklin by 100 pounds, so he can drag him when he wants to.
Oh, no.
So my big pony is out of control, dragging down the road. We're 100 miles an hour. I mean, not 100, but I mean fast. And I'm just counting my blessings that there is no traffic, that there are no intersections. It is over a mile. They're staying in the middle of the road. It is over a mile before I can get those ponies brought back into hand, get them to stop, get out, put the bridle back on Theodore with the bit in his mouth, get back on the seat, drive them down the road. 2 more miles, and we're in heavy traffic now. And one of those big blatty trucks comes way too close behind, right around behind us, way too close, jams in front of us, and Theodore loses his mind and takes off again.
Oh, poor Theodore. God.
Poor Theodore. But also poor Franklin.
Poor
Franklin getting dragged along on this. Franklin's not asking for this.
Yeah.
So I have the directions with the address where we're headed in my phone. We've cut a day short. We're going to stay with Dickie Bill's relative Clayton. There's a pasture there where he has a leopard Appaloosa who's 20 years old and is good with other horses. So the ponies have a pasture. And my nephew's supposed to meet me there and put the Strava app on my phone so that people can track me on a map. And I'm going down. Now we're on 129, which is a really fast state road. And it's rush hour because now, the whole afternoon has gone to all this. And there's cars, and Dickie Bill is behind me in his van with his flashers on. And all of a sudden he's honking and yelling and saying, no, this is the turn right here. This is the house. It's not the address I have in my phone. So I turn in, it's too late, it's a too tight turn, he's behind me honking to get my attention, the pony's goose, and now the wagon is jackknifed. And the right wheel is jammed into the wagon, into the roller, we can't get it out. I jump out the uphill side, and this is the second time we've jackknifed, like the first time was worse. So this is the 4th near death in one day, and I have had it, and I unhitch the ponies, and I walk them up the driveway towards the pasture, and I walk away from the wagon and figure, you know what? the men can handle this. And it took 3 of them lifting that wagon up and jamming on the tire to get it off. And somehow the wagon is still in one piece after all this, and the wheels are still okay.
And how was the tongue?
The tongue was okay.
Wow.
It was all okay. And we got the ponies out into the pasture, and my nephew showed up and he put the app on my phone. And then now we're going to change gears because this is the other part that's hard. Dickie Bill offers to take me to the fairgrounds for a shower. I'm like, hallelujah, I could really use a shower.
Yeah.
I don't organize the wagon. I just have unhitched the ponies. I put them out in the pasture, made sure they're okay. The wagon's sitting on a flat surface. I grab my stuff to go take a shower. We go to the fairgrounds. I come out of the shower. Dickie Bill's girlfriend is there because she wants to meet me. We sit there for half an hour, 45 minutes at the fairgrounds. They want to take me out for dinner. I don't have an immune system, so I can't go inside. I've got dietary things. I feel like very high maintenance at this point. And finally, we settle on a Mexican restaurant with outdoor seating. So we go out to dinner. We come back. And, it was good. I needed food at that point. We come back, and now we have to sit under the oak trees in chairs and chat. And finally, at 8:30, I had been going since 6:30 this morning. And I said, you know what? I really need to get the wagon figured out before dark. I need to go, and they were gracious enough to let me go at that point. They finally left about 9:00. Get the wagon organized. Long day. The next day, I'm going 4.5 miles to the fairground. There's huge amounts of construction. They're putting in a new guardrail at the end of the driveway where I am with all these big machines. It's a Hispanic road crew. So before I get the ponies hooked to the wagon, I go down and explain to them that the ponies are spooky, their equipment is loud, and blessings on them as I go down the driveway. They turn off every machine. It is dead silent.
Good you and good them.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we're now on the busy road. Dickie Bill's behind us with the flashers on. I turn onto a quiet road, but every time we go faster than a walk, the ponies are trying to bolt. I mean, they are still rattled from the day before.
Sure.
So I miss a turn, and a 4.5 mile day turns into an 8.5 mile day at a walk. And ponies walk at 2.5 miles an hour. I mean, they can pick it up when they trot, but like a walking day with those ponies is a long day. It's early afternoon. We get to the fairgrounds. I get them in a pen. I get them water. I get them hay. I get the wagon under a roof. There's supposed to be a storm that night. I go take a shower. I come back out. I'm trying to get myself organized. I feel like an absolute stunned mullet. It's the first time I've been alone in way too long. And I'm in a public fairgrounds. All of a sudden, my dog is barking his head off and disappears. There's a leash law at the fairgrounds. I don't have him on the leash. It's my bad. He saw 2 ladies walking their dogs across so I have to go pick him up, bring him back. By the time I get back, there's an old man there waiting for me. He's looking for Dickie Bill. Dickie Bill said I was at the fairgrounds and this man really wanted to meet me. Having a conversation with him is like fishing in a pond with no fish. It's just work. Yeah. And I'm trying to be polite, but he's not asking any questions, and it's monosyllabic answers, and this goes on for an hour. Yeah. And I'm trying to be polite, and then Dickie Bill shows up, and it's 5:00, and his girlfriend's with him, and he lets me know that a bunch more friends really want to meet me, and they're showing up. And I get a text from Chris, who's the facilities manager who's letting me stay, saying there's a really bad storm coming in and the ladies' shower is a storm shelter and I should avail myself. And I text back and say, if it's going to be that bad, I don't want my wagon to blow away. Is there any way I can get it into proper shelter? Yeah. So he opens this big, huge pole barn where they show pigs and sheep and stuff. And it's this huge, big open space. And we get the wagon in there, and I make 6 or 7 loads to get all my stuff in there because I've already undone the wagon. get the harnesses in there. Meanwhile, Dickie Bill's setting up chairs and a table, and he's brought these friends over, and it starts bucketing rain, and I am trapped in a pole barn with a bunch of 70 and 80-year-old men. And one of them, back in 1985, wrote a book. And he's giving me a copy of this book, and he wants to do his motivational speech in full that he used to do back in 1985. And for reasons I cannot comprehend, hanging around his neck on a string is a giant pacifier with a bulb the size of my fist.
Jeez. Wow, that's
and this
heavy,
man
see.
cannot stop talking. He's asking me, like, what do you regret in your life? And I'm like, nothing. And that's the right answer. But he's mad because he wants to correct me and tell me that, I shouldn't have any regrets because that's who. Well, in the mid 80s, I read a lot of self-help books. He has plagiarized all of these self-help books that I've already read to make his book, the front half of which is pictures plagiarizing Dr. Seuss. It's the Grunch who stole the bottom line. And I have not asked for his advice. I have not asked for his help. I have not asked for anything from this man. I did not ask him to show up.
So how do you get out of a situation like this?
Well, this went on, and I wish I was lying, for 2.5 hours. Well, the other guys went on a beer run, and I can't drink beer. So now I'm here with a bunch of old men drinking beer, and Darlene, who also doesn't drink beer. And this guy has had me pinned to my chair, a captive audience. It's bucketing rain outside for 2.5 hours, and I've not had anything to eat yet today. And finally, I lost it. I completely snapped. I was shaking. My voice went up. I started saying to him, and I tried to explain about the food thing, and then he starts mansplaining to everybody else that I needed, to feed myself. And then I'm like, I can speak for myself. And he's desperate to be in my blog, telling me that I need to write about meeting this famous author. And he gave me this brilliant book. And I finally was like, I don't want you telling me what to write. It is my blog. I write what I want. I don't need you speaking for me. He goes, I'm being empathetic. I'm like, no, you're actually being a control freak. And frankly, I've spent the entire night wanting to grab that pacifier and jam it into your mouth so that you would shut up. And I am screaming at this point, and everybody gathers up their beer in mortification and leaves.
Success. You broke up the party. You can go home now. Run.
I did.
That's wild.
I hated myself for that. Like, I wish I could have come up with, but I had been dropping little conversational hints for 2.5 hours that he was just ignoring and blowing through. And I had exceeded every limit I had between Sunday with almost dying 4 times and Monday of the non-consensual, and I know Dickie Bill was very helpful and wanted to show me off to his friends because I was the new trinket. And it just did not feel good at all. It was not, I did not sign on for that.
So why do you think people are so drawn to that?
I think that we're in a world where people just desperately want to be seen and heard. And I had a friend text me the other day saying, I'm just in awe of how freely you are sharing yourself on this adventure, that as she's gotten older, she's gotten more and more reclusive. And I feel like there's a difference between sharing myself and being taken from. And there's a line there that I'm not really understanding how to navigate yet.
Go ahead.
And I also think, and with this is not, okay, I'm in the world of not all men, but it's men of a certain age who somehow believe that women owe them attention. And the only time after, they're done running the world, when they've retired, the only time they really seem to feel alive is when someone's paying them undivided attention. And it helps if it's a female. And when they get that drug that they're so desperate for, they're mainlining, and you can't cut, they're not going to voluntarily cut themselves off. And it's super hard. And I don't want to be rude and I don't want to not be unempathetic, but at least with women, they remember that you might need to use the bathroom or eat something
Right.
or drink
Right.
something. Like it's just, I am not a person in a body in those situations. I am just a mirror reflecting their greatness back at them. And I'm a good audience when I'm in mode, but I can't sustain it anymore.
And that
And
is tough.
yesterday, when I got here at noon, my host here has ADD, which he admitted, but he literally didn't stop talking for 7.5 hours.
So right here, I'm going to insert a public G Rhydr service announcement.
Yeah.
Please, folks, if you meet G Rhydr, she's fabulous, doing an amazing thing. Please ask her one question, tell her one thing, and then from there on, the conversation will be half the words are yours, half the words are theirs, and it's 10
And
minutes
there's a
max.
2-hour limit.
That's right.
Honestly,
Okay.
like I can be cheerful. I can be happy about socializing for 2 hours. I can be tolerant of socializing for 4 hours. And then I am 100% done and I need to go crawl in my cave again.
Sure. And that's, that's a big thing. And you had mentioned this earlier when you were on Travel Grid, you mentioned the talk tax.
Yeah.
Where people project. And, but see, I think this is a big thing, I think, in today's culture. And there are biological reasons for this. And we know now cell phone screen use is shifting our brains to the left side, the left hemisphere. There's a biological reason why people blab on and on and on, mostly about themselves. But I think it's tougher even in your position.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something going on. Well, I was just curious. So you escaped this. So where do you head next?
So right now the ponies are in Indiana and I'm in Ohio. They are right across the state line in a pasture. And so I'm at a place in Ohio and I can hear the traffic going by on State Line Road, and we walked the ponies across State Line Road to a 4-acre pasture. So they made it to Indiana a day ahead of me, which, they lead everything. That's fair.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And so tomorrow morning, and today was a rain day. It was bucketing rain, and I'm a weather wimp. I don't, if it's icky weather and I've got a possibility of not driving, I'm not driving.
Totally understand. Totally 100% agree. Agree for the horse's sake, for the driver's sake. Don't do it.
And then the other thing is they have not been in a pasture since before the fairgrounds. This is the first pasture they've been in since before the fairgrounds. And so they have a chance to stretch, to roll, to eat real grass. They are really happy right now. And so that's a priority.
So how's their weight and condition doing?
I would say Theodore's losing a little weight, which he could stand. And Franklin's gaining a little muscle and looking a little chunkier. They're doing really well. We've been doing barefoot almost every day, and their hooves are looking great. I'm going to back up a couple days because after that whole thing with the fence, we had not had a good day driving until 2 days ago. And I landed with a couple named Terry and Pam Marker, and he drives a 6-horse Percheron hitch. They've got Thunderstruck Percherons. And he's been driving since he was 10. He's 70. And he went over that harness one piece at a time. He went over the ponies. He got them all sorted. And the first 2 days ago on Monday, he drove them the first 4 hours. First 4 miles. Sorry, first 4 miles. And his wife drove me along behind in the car. And when I got the reins again, it was like I had a completely different team. They were straight.
Wow.
Everything was organized. The lines were working the way they were supposed to. The ponies were pulling the way they were supposed to. I put up a little snippet on the Instagram showing, and everybody was like, wow, they look so happy. They look so organized. It was great. It was amazing.
What a gift.
What a gift. And it gets better. His granddaughter, who had graduated the day before from high school, had been in a vet tech program in high school the last 2 years, where she was learning animal science and all this 2 hours and 45 minutes a day on top of her high school classes. And she had learned all sorts of body work. So I went to her other grandparents' house, other grandfather's house that next night, and she did all sorts of stretching and therapy and massage on Franklin and figured out what was bothering him. And he had a pinched nerve in his neck, and she stretched his neck and popped it out in both directions, figured out how to loosen up his hips. I mean, she taught me exercises I can do for him every day now that's going to make him more comfortable going down the road. And yesterday, after she did that work on him, he was happy, he was comfortable, he was just great. So
That's
that was
great news.
Huge gift. So that one family turned the trip around. And then the guy where I am here has a PEMF machine, which is some electrical wave therapy thing. And he did a treatment on both of the ponies before they went out to pasture. And you could tell with Franklin, there's something in his neck that's connected to his left back leg. And it was his neck and his left back leg that went through the fence. And so he's been fighting a physical thing since that happened, that we're now finally getting a handle on and making sure that's, going to be better going forward.
Right. Well, good for you for opening up to that.
Yeah, that was super good. And then I am 90 miles, I think, from my next long stop in Sheridan, Indiana, where I'm going to stay for a week. And so I've got 6 more days of driving to get there. And probably it'll take us 7 or 8 days because we do take some rest days in here. And then I have gotten my book published finally.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. So that's kind of exciting. It's on Amazon.
Tell us about the book.
So it's called Free Range Rodeo, Horseback Through the Apocalypse. And it's about the first 1,000 miles of my long ride when I was traveling with Griff and Jesse James and Feinhorn and a variety of mares. And it was put out by Barker Books, which is out of Mexico City. And they did a fabulous job. And we've got it up right now on Amazon in paperback and hardcover. And I just ordered 50 copies to be sent ahead to Sheridan, Indiana. So they'll be there when I get there. And then I'm telling people if they want and I'll sell those out of the wagon as I go along.
Super.
On sort of a sliding scale as a way to afford to keep doing this. And then I've also told people if they want an autographed copy, then send me an email with their address and Venmo or PayPal or whatever the money, all that's on my blog. And when I get to Sheridan, I will open that box of books and I will start signing them and putting them in the post office to people.
I have ordered my copy. My copy on Amazon, the hardcover version. And I ordered it there for the simple reason of making it simpler for you, not to have to ship one extra book. Plus, I'll have it.
And it's also a lot faster.
It is a lot faster.
Amazon will get it to you in a few days. Have you got your copy already?
I have not, but they're really quick. So I would suggest or urge anyone who is interested, go ahead and buy it now. A signed copy would be fantastic, but I do want to temper expectations of how long it takes when you order a book, because I've been through this to ship it.
Paperback is fast.
Right. Makes sense.
People who ordered the paperback, they're already there. I'm not sure why the hardcover's taking longer.
But could be a production thing.
Yeah, so keep me posted when it shows up because I am tracking that. And then I should have the Kindle version up in a week. My publisher has been in hospital for the past 2 days. And yeah, so that's not great.
Well, and congratulations on that, C. That's a huge thing.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and a couple people have opened it and said it looks good. Like the pictures in the right places, the words in so I'm super excited about that. And then to be able to have them in the wagon is a way to keep funding this adventure and connect with people better.
So first question, what do you need? Do you need anything gear-wise? Can people bring you stuff as you're going? And second of all, how are you with the finances? Do you have a crowdsourcing site? Tell us about
that. This is very grassroots, and I had been living on disability and food stamps and had to give that up because you can't travel with that, and likewise Medicaid. So I am way out here on a string now, and the only way this happens is with donations and book sales. And so if you go to my blog, there's a contact page, and it has Venmo and PayPal and Zelle, I think, is the other one. But my Venmo is Free Range Rodeo. And so that's the quickest way. And then other things that are super helpful, if you go and watch the interviews I'm doing on Who is My Neighbor, the Neighbor Archives, if I can get 1,000 people to subscribe and 4,000 hours watched, I can start getting paid by YouTube. And it's also, so that's the heart of what I'm doing. That's the part I really care about. And I love doing the interviews. I love editing the interviews. I love every single part of that process. It just feeds my soul, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing out here matters. Like that's the part of it that, to me, I mean, the rest of it is fun, but that's the part that I feel like is going to outlast me. So the more people that go find my YouTube channel, watch the videos, comment on the videos, because at the end of each video, I ask the person I'm interviewing, if you could ask everybody watching this one question, what would it be? And then ask people to answer in the comments. And I would love to have conversations happening in the comments and more people commenting. And then just on a practical level, the algorithm sees that happening and shares it with more people.
Cool.
So I really want this to take off. So that's the first thing, is go find my YouTube channel, follow that. Go find my blog, follow that. And then I have this weird situation where my van, the Nun, is following me around. And if I can find people willing to do a mini road trip and bring the van ahead to where I am, like right now, I'm just north of Union City on the Ohio-Indiana line. And I'm trying to get the van to Sheridan, Indiana. And I can't drive the van and the ponies at the same time.
Sure.
And so
you need a driver.
I need a driver. And the van doesn't need to necessarily come to me, or if somebody wants to volunteer to give me a ride back to the van, so anything help with that is super useful.
Sure, we'll put that out there.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And then I can only carry about 20 pounds of grain with me at a time. So I've been going to mills and getting 20 pounds of grain. So that's another thing, is back up even before that. I'm going from here to Sheridan, Indiana. I've got my spot for tomorrow night figured out. And then I have 4 nights where I have no idea where I'm going to stay. And if you put in on a map Union City, Indiana, and Sheridan, Indiana, and draw a line, or ask the Google map to give you the walking route, anything within 5 miles of that line, I'm trying to make 5 miles a day along that line. 15 miles a day along that line. And so if anybody knows anybody in Eastern Indiana along that line, that would be brilliant. I would love to have invitations that way.
Between Union City and Sheridan.
And then between Sheridan, Indiana, and Buffalo Prairie, Illinois, is 300 miles. And I've been invited to Buffalo Prairie, Illinois, which is in the northwest corner of Illinois. And so I'm heading over there. Anything between Sheridan, Indiana, and the northwest corner of Illinois, love to have invites. That is super, super helpful. And then anybody who can get a hold of a newspaper or whatever, like a reporter who wants to talk to me, that's way more helpful in advance than after I'm gone. Because people will see the article before I get to town, and that helps me find places to stay. So that's another super helpful thing.
How many doors have you had to knock on? Because it's got to be a challenge with a wagon to stop the wagon and knock on a door. So you have to pre-find your places.
Yeah, I can't get out of the wagon and leave the ponies to stand for 30 seconds to go knock on a door. So I have not risked that yet. I have every night so far, I have known where I'm headed. And that's the big sweat. Like when I had a riding horse and a pack horse, that was easy.
Right. Big difference.
Big difference. And I have tried to contact several churches and they do not get back to me at all. So I thought that was going to be a good idea and it turned out not. And I didn't wind up going there, but it was great. I called a billiards store that had a farm next door, and they were super enthusiastic. And then I did a detour and went and talked to some 4-H kids instead, and they were actually disappointed I didn't show up at a billiards store. So, so I think that's the other thing is if I can find businesses heading west in Albany, Indiana, there's a farm supply store, like a used farm equipment, John Deere and stuff like that. And so I'm going to contact, if I don't have anything for Saturday night, I'm going to contact them and say, is there a possibility I could camp in your yard?
Sure.
So I am just not brave enough right now to go. It'll eventually happen, but I'm just not to the point. At this point, I need someone to hold the ponies every morning while I'm hitching them to the wagon. I can unhitch them by myself, but when they're tired, but I can't hitch them up in the morning and get going without somebody. And that's a little embarrassing, but it's just where we are right now.
From from northern Illinois, where do you plan to head?
The next place I'm planning on is Lincoln, Nebraska. So all the way across Iowa. And I've got to figure out how to get across the Mississippi River. That's another one of those big challenges. And I either will need a horse trailer to get me across that, or I will need an escort from a sheriff or police or somebody. But those big bridges just aren't safe. So I need help getting across there. And then from Lincoln, I figure I'm going to do some amount of just loop around Nebraska because we have national forests. We also have national grasslands.
Yes,
And I
Nebraska's
want to check that out. Yeah, so I want to check that out. I've never really spent time in the grasslands, and so I really want to see that. And then I'm planning on going down to Independence, Kansas, because that's where the Little House on the Prairie Museum is. And this wagon is 60-year-old me living out the dreams of 6-year-old me. And 6-year-old me wants to go to the Little House on the Prairie Museum. So we're going.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, see.
Yeah.
That's a mission.
And then I have a place in Vergennes, 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 Illinois, down in the very tip of Illinois. And that's a woman who's got a site called Horse Girl. And it's inspirational stuff about women wanting to get back into horses, I think. And so she's invited me. She wants to do some interviews. We'll do interviews both ways. And then after that, I'm not sure because I've got 2 ideas for winter. One is if I can find some place with a cabin and a pasture where the ponies and I can have a reasonable amount of solitude and safety, and an internet connection. I would love to have 3 or 4 months to finish the next book and to continue doing the Who is My Neighbor interviews via Riverside, like we're on right now. That's okay. In terms of what people can do to be helpful and get involved, I have been finding going across the Middle West, we are having an extreme lack of diversity here. Like pretty much everybody I've been interviewing is a middle-aged or older white Republican. Like everybody.
And is that a function of who lives there?
Yeah, it's a function of who lives here. It's a function of being in the Midwest. We're in the Bible Belt. We're staying with farmers every night. It's just the demographic where you wind up staying when you have a covered wagon. And these have been really amazing people. They have been generous. They have been kind. They have been enthusiastic about this. They've been great about granting me interviews. I mean, 0 complaints, but I have got so many people of the same demographic right now that I would love to be able to do some remote interviews. You don't take ponies into cities.
Right.
There are not a lot of people of color here. There's not a lot of gay people here. There's no trans people here. Like, I would love to get a lot more diversity into these interviews. And so if people are willing to volunteer for that and be on a remote interview on the riverside like this, it's not hard to set up. I've got the app. You don't need to set up the app. Bernie taught me how to do this. But I would love to hear from people who'd be willing to do that. And when I'm in Sheridan, Indiana, I should have a good Wi-Fi connection and a week or so off. And I would love to be doing these interviews with some people who don't live in the Midwest.
Sure. And what's the best way to contact you, C?
The best way to do that is probably email, which is SEA, that's my name, at freerangerodeo.com, or contact me via the blog or social media or anywhere. Just get a message to me somehow. And then you can also text me at 518-336-5596. The thing about texting is it just lets me get back to people later. Whereas if the phone rings when I'm going down the road, that's a traffic hazard. But SEA at freerangerodeo.com is just the very best way to find me that way. And I would love people sending me some willingness to participate that way and getting involved in that.
I've really enjoyed the Who is My Neighbor. Just to touch on this briefly again, because this is very much after my own heart, on the ground, these field recordings with people, your list of questions. But the challenge, and I just want to reinforce what you just said, is when you're traveling with a mule, a wagon, horses, for the most part, you avoid cities. And so rural areas have a very specific type of people that live there, and you just don't have that huge range that you find in cities.
Right.
So I understand that that's just a matter of geography.
Yeah.
So it would be great to get that a wider view.
It would be so much fun.
I don't put words in your mouth, but you're trying to find out about this country, and it'd be good to hear from everybody, a little more representation.
Well, and also so that the people who live here can get a real sense of people who live everywhere else.
Because it's great for us, and I've been listening to these, see, to be here on the East Coast, and just the more of the getting towards the Great Plains philosophy view, that's different than we're used to hearing and seeing here, for example, in Western North Carolina. So it does help to have
It really helps. And then I want the people here to hear coastal voices. I want the people here to hear your interview. You're living in a cabin. There's so much they can relate to. But
I love it.
You're in a completely other part of the country and you think differently. But you're living in a way that would make complete sense to people here. And so I am really trying to tie that together. And so I'm looking for people willing to do the remote interviews on Riverside when I have a week off with good Wi-Fi.
What I would suggest everyone listening, if you're interested, please get up with C. To do this. I have done one. My wife, Julia Carpenter's done one. They're beautiful interviews, and they really come at a time when we as a country need to hear this.
Yeah. And I would especially say, if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Buddhist, if you're something other than Christian, that's another thing I've got none of. And I just, it feels weird to walk into an Indian food restaurant and say, "Hi, you're not white. Can I interview you?" I mean, that seems rude. I pass by the Hispanic road crews. They're working. I'm driving. And I don't know where they are at night. I can't stop in the middle of the day and grab an interview. So I'm baffled how to make this work, but I'm determined to figure this out over the next few months.
Very cool. Well, I look forward I look forward to hearing to all of them, the ones on the ground and also the remote ones, because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Who is My Neighbor.
I've done probably 40 or 50 interviews now, and I'm getting more interested, not bored. Like, this interview is growing as I'm doing it, and I'm just loving it. And then to have people start to put comments, to answer those questions in the comments, because people are really putting themselves out there to do the interview. And part of it is they're asking a real question and hoping real people will respond so they can check in later and see how other people are resonating. And honestly, my dad is loving these so much. This is his favorite way to keep up with me. And so this is also a gift to him that we're doing these.
What's Dad's name?
Chuck Geezer.
Shout out to Chuck. You should be so proud. He's kicking it. And I hope you enjoy this interview, Chuck, and many more after this.
Chuck and Sally Joe. I mean, my mom too.
Chuck and Sally Joe. Sally Joe, don't want you to get hacked off with me for leaving you out. So to bring things to a close, what would be one parting thought you would like to leave people?
I wish I could encourage more people to trust their neighbors, to get out of their comfort zone, to get out from behind their screens and get out into the world. Just get out there and talk to people. If you're on the bus, talk to people. If you're at the grocery store in the checkout line, talk to people. People are so hungry for actual connection and communication. And we've gotten so scared. And the only way we're going to get past that is if we just start reaching out and trusting that person we're reaching towards might just reach back.
Wow. See, that is a absolutely beautiful summation. Just to wrap up very briefly to those of you who are listening, we've been talking with G Rhydr in the awesome, beautiful, yellow mustard seed covered wagon, traveling through the countryside. You're currently in Ohio with Franklin, Theodore, and Thick. That is the best way, what you just said, to sum it up, C. I feel like for editing purposes, I should just hang up the phone and hit stop. That was awesome. Well, no, of course we're not going to do that. But thank you.
I just hope we keep doing these over the years because you're kind of my touch point at this point. Like, you're the one keeping track of me in this way. It makes me happy.
Thank you. Thanks again, C, for making time in your busy schedule to catch up with me, straight from the mustard seed wagon. If you enjoyed this interview, like to be a guest on C's Who is My Neighbor channel, drop her a line. You can reach her at c@freerangerodeo.com. Like C said, people are just so hungry for connection, so reach out to her. To keep up with C's wagon journey, check out her website, freerangerodeo.com, and you can also keep up with her on Facebook. If you'd like to make a gift toward a trip, go to the contact page on freerangerodeo.com to see how you can make a donation via PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Before C took off on this wagon voyage, she took a 5,000-mile saddle journey through America. It's a voyage she shared on Travel Grit. So be sure to check that out on travelgrit.com. Go to the podcast, and you'll get to listen to her discussion there. We had an amazing talk there. Her new book about that voyage, Free Range Rodeo, Horseback Through the Apocalypse, has just come out, and you can pick up a copy on Amazon. Oh, and one more thing. Before C set off on her current trip, she and I caught up on the Travel Grit companion show called Gritty Bits, where we discussed preparations for her current trip. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this conversation with C, please leave a comment, a like, or a review on whatever platform you caught this on. Until next time, stay gritty. Travel Grit. Conversations with ramblers, roamers, and free spirits.